waiting, and difficult moments don't stop God from fulfilling the promise that He has for you. Hi guys, so right now I'm currently in the book of Joshua, and I wanted to talk about Caleb and his journey. Caleb demonstrates the 3 stages of faithful living with God. So the first stage is trusting when others doubt. The Israelites were having the same difficulties that we do now with being obedient to God. So because of their disobedience, they missed out on getting to witness the promised land. Caleb was part of that generation, but there was one decision that Caleb and Joshua made that changed their course of whether or not they would be able to witness God's blessing. So that was when Moses sent 12 spies to check out the land of Canaan, Joshua and Caleb being part of those 12. When they returned to give back their report, only Joshua and Caleb had full faith that they were fighting with God and that they were going to be able to overtake the land of Canaan. But the other 10 spies instilled fear in the rest of the Israelites, and because of that, they didn't go in to take over the land, and that delayed their blessing and caused them to be in the wilderness for 40 years. Right? So we got that. Caleb was 40 years old during that time, but Caleb and Joshua demonstrate what it looks like to have trust when others doubt. No matter what the other 10 were saying, they were 10 toes down on God's promise and 10 toes down that they were fighting with God and that they would be able to take over that land. So that's the first stage of faithful living with God, is having trust when others doubt. The second stage that we see through Caleb's journey is staying faithful during a waiting season. Some of us be talking about, wow, God has me in this singleness season. I've been waiting for a year or 2 or blah. Caleb waited 45 years to see God's blessing. And we see that in Joshua 14:10 when it explains how old Caleb is. He goes up to Joshua and he's like, I'm 85 years old. Let me take over this land. And I'm going to get back to the land part. I'm going to get back to the conversation with Joshua in a bit. But within those 45 years, Caleb saw his entire generation die out. When God said, y'all not finna see the promise and the blessing I had, the next generation is going to see it, he meant it, and he stood 10 toes down on that. So just imagine 45 years of seeing everybody you grew up with, everybody that God brought you out of Egypt with, God brought you out of slavery, everyone that you went through that struggle, you endured the wilderness season during the desert, just seeing all the different ways in which everyone was dying left to right, essentially, right? But God stayed true to you because your faith in Him was strong. So Caleb and Joshua were able to make it into the promised land. Moses was able to only witness it from a hilltop or a mountaintop, because God already told him, you're not stepping foot onto that land, but you will be able to see it and see me fulfill the blessing that I once told Abraham. And then we get to the third stage, which is having spiritual maturity and facing challenges with God, knowing that you're going through them with God and not avoiding challenges because of fear. Once they're already becoming victorious and taking over these lands, Caleb has a conversation with Joshua and he's like, hey, let me take over the hillside with the giants. I believe it was a hillside. But let me go over to the giants and take over that land. It was a land that we basically scoped out. We didn't get to do it 45 years ago. Let me do it now. Now keep in mind, Caleb's 85 years old, but he has the same strength and the same faith that he did 45 years ago. So his flesh might be 85, his spirit is still as strong as it was 45 years ago when he reported back to the Israelites and said, we can do this because God's by our side, right? So that is in Joshua 14:12 when he has that conversation. In Joshua 14:15, he's victorious over that land. So he overcomes it because he knows that he's fighting with God. His strength and his faith is with God. So that just goes to show that God gives strength to those who trust him. So through Caleb's journey, we see that age, waiting, and difficult moments don't stop God from fulfilling the promise that he had for us, or the promise that he has for you. And he can do anything through someone who trusts him. So when you find yourself getting frustrated with God because certain things are not happening the way that you would have hoped in your life, ask yourself if you're working on your own timeline or if you're being obedient and waiting for God to move when he knows you're ready to receive that blessing. But also, if you're fully surrendering to him, if you have faith in him delivering on his promise, all of those things are important. And sometimes our disobedience can be the cause as to why we don't get to experience a blessing that God has for us, or we may be the reason for delay in the blessing that God has for us. So take some time to pray and talk with God about areas in your life where you feel like, hey, really waiting for this. What's going on here? Check your heart posture. See what's the intention behind it? What's fueling the frustration? And then meet him and have a conversation with him about it. Bye.